All right, so today we are going to perform function operations. What that means is add, subtract, multiply, divide with functions. Previously, we've been doing that with polynomials. Add, subtract, divide, multiply. Isn't that what we were doing in the last chapter? Okay, well, you can do it with functions also. Okay, so just like we did with polynomials, we could do it with functions. So, for example, if I have a function f of x that equals 3x and g of x equals x plus 3, I can add them and get a new function, which I'll call h of x. So if I add them together, h of x, you literally just take them and add them together. So combining your like terms, you would get h of x was equal to 4x plus 3. So subtraction, it's basically the same thing. We're just going to take f of x, which is 3x, and we're going to subtract g of x, which is x plus 3. So the main thing you have to remember is to distribute your negative into your parentheses, and then you just combine your like terms. So h of x would, in this case, be 2x minus 3. Multiplication, we just multiply them together. So h of x would be 3x times x plus 3. And so h of x would equal 3x squared plus 9x. And then finally we can divide them. On top I would have 3x, on the bottom I would have my x plus 3. Now this one we can't simplify it because the x plus 3, when you have a plus or a minus between it, that's like a group package deal there, okay? They stay together. Okay, when they have a plus. So there's nothing that we can do to that to reduce it, so because nothing factors out. So we would just leave the answer like that. So when we're thinking of domain for these, the domain for function h consists of the x values that are in the domains of function f and function g. So f and g. And additionally, when you guys have a quotient, like our last one there, it does not include the x values for which g of x would equal 0. How come we don't want g of x to equal 0? Where is the g of x on my division problem? It's on the bottom. Can we divide by 0? No. So for instance, looking at h of x right there, that's 3x over x plus 3, we could have all real numbers, right? Except for what? What can x not equal on that one? X could equal 0.
Wait, hold on. Repeat, please.
I don't want the bottom to equal, I don't want the denominator to equal 0.
Okay.
So what can x not be equal to? What would make x plus 3 negative 3, right? So x can't equal negative 3. Okay? So depending on what type of, if it's a division one, you're going to have to pay attention to the domain, whereas in the past we haven't really had to pay a lot of attention to it. Okay? Okay, so a power function, some of these functions are going to be different than what we've seen, but it's not a big deal. Okay, so y is equal to a times x to the b. So we've kind of done power functions because we did quadratics, right? And we did polynomials. It's just now we're going to be talking about rational exponents. So a would be a real number, and then b is a rational number. So by that means we're going to have fractions. Okay? All right, so So for example 1, if f of x is 4 times x to the 1/2 and g of x is negative 9 times x to the 1/2, find the following. We're literally just adding those together. So f of x, which is 4x to the 1/2, plus g of x, which is negative 9 x to the 1/2. So if I add those together, what do I get? Exactly, negative 5 x to the 1/2. Yes, it was plus and negative. Okay, and so if I subtract them, then I have 4x to the 1/2 minus negative 9 x to the 1/2 minus a negative means it's plus. So yes, it would be 13 x to the 1/2. So let's talk about the domains, because now the domain is not as straightforward as it has been in the past. If I have x to the 1/2 power, what root am I taking? I'm taking the second root or the square root, right? Okay. Can I take the square root of a negative number?
Well, pulling out an I.
And get a real root?
No.
We're just talking about real roots.
No.
Okay, I can't get a real root of a negative number. So that means my domain, I can't put any negative numbers in for x, can I? But can I put in any positive numbers I want to? Yeah. So it's all positive real numbers.
Would 0 be like a plus or minus sign before 0 in any equation because it can be positive or
No,
negative?
because 0 is 0.
Or 0. There.
No, but like, do you understand what I'm trying to say? Like, because 0 is neither.
But it's
it
just,
can be both.
it's a given that it's 0.
It can be
0
a
is just 0. It isn't plus or minus. It's just
plus or
0.
minus 0.
All right, so now we're going to do some multiplication and division. So we're going to let f of x equal 6x and g of x equal x to the 3/4 power. So if I want to do f of x times g of x, that just means I'm taking 6x times x to the 3/4. So remember, we assume there's a 1 there. And I'm not going to write a mixed number for an exponent, so let's go ahead and make that an improper fraction. What is 1 plus 3/4?
Oh.
7/4, yes. So that would be 6x to the 7/4. Then for division, we're just going to have our 6x on top and x to 3/4 on the bottom. So now I've got 6 times x to the 1 minus 3/4, right? So what's that going to equal?
6 to the 1/4.
Yes, 6x to the 1/4. Now, the domains. The domain of f is just all reals, right? Because it's just 6x. But what about g? Can I do all reals?
Yes.
It's x to the 3/4, so that means I'm taking a 4th root. Can I take the 4th root of a negative?
Because it's even.
No, you can't.
Well, you can take the third root.
If it was a 3rd root, yes, I could use negatives, but it's a 4th root, so I can't have any negatives. So for this one, then it's going to be the most restrictive domain, basically. So it's going to be all, well, I'm going to write these separately because they're going to be different. So for f of x times g of x, the domain, oh, whoops. The domain is all positive real numbers and 0. And, oh, that's in my way down there. Let's move that out of the way.
Plus or minus 1.
Okay, and then, but now if I'm talking about the division problem, so for f of x divided by g of x. Again, my domain can only be positive reals. But in this case, can x equal 0? If we have 6x over x to the 3/4, that means if I put in a 0 right there, can I divide by 0?
No.
No, I can't have a 0 there. So that means x can't equal 0 for the second one. Okay? All right, so any questions about how to add, subtract, multiply, or divide your functions? That's it for today.
Good.
All right.
Good lesson. Kinda understood what was going on.